Welcome back to Knowledge Hive, where we believe knowledge is a service and sharing it empowers all of us. I'm your host, Lisa Sims. I'm the CEO of Knowledge Hive. And let me start with a question. When someone asks you, what do you do for a living? What do you say? Do you just say your job title? Do you say what company you work for? Do you start listing off your credentials? Because here's what I've noticed. Most people answer that question like they're filling out a form, not like they're describing an asset. And that matters way more than you think. Because as we move forward, the most valuable professionals will not be the ones with the longest resumes. They'll be the ones that know what knowledge as a service truly means. So today, I really want to talk about what knowledge capital and what value your expertise as an independent executive asset should really bring. And I want to warn you, this episode might mess a little bit with how you see yourself, but in a good way. A few years ago, I met a woman named Claire. We'll just name her Claire. Claire had spent 18 years climbing the ladder at a major global brand. She had done everything right. Top schools, big promotions, huge teams. And, she also had that big 6-figure salary. And the problem was that the company merged and her entire division was eliminated. She didn't do anything wrong. It's not because she wasn't fantastic at her job, because basically the spreadsheet that some consultant that the company hired to put together said that she needed to go. And so when she told me what happened, she kept saying this one phrase over and over: I don't know what I am without this job. And that sentence really haunted me, because what she was really saying is, I don't know how to value myself outside of what it says on a posted job requisition or job description. I think that's the trap. Traditional professional identity. We're taught to see ourselves as a position, as part of an organizational unit. But the more and more, both in traditional and freelance or fractional work, the market doesn't pay for what positions you've held. It pays for what your impact was to the organization. What type of judgment do you show? It pays for your ability to reduce uncertainty. It pays for knowing what to do when things are unclear, that whole thinking out of the box thing. That is knowledge capital that you can turn into knowledge as a service. Here is the really uncomfortable truth. The system that most of us grew up expecting has drastically changed. Long-term company loyalty, linear careers, predictable progressions are pretty rare anymore. We now live more in an era of corporate volatility and rapid fragmentation, M&A. Organizations are trying to keep up with the change, which includes just constant reinvention. And in that kind of a world, the most valuable thing you can own is not a job. It's your experience. What do you know? Especially if you're further along in your career and you have an executive mind frame. If you're watching this and if you are watching this and you already have a fractional executive mind frame or are seriously considering that path, here are a few hints of what you're bringing to the table. You see patterns. You make sense of chaos. You can decide under pressure. You can navigate ambiguity. You create clarity when no clarity actually exists. That's really what companies pay consultants for, and that's what boards pay advisors for. That's what founders desperately need. And that is also what most professionals don't know how to value in themselves. So let's define this clearly. Knowledge capital is not how many degrees you have, how long your resume is, how many tools you know, how busy you are. What it is your applied intelligence. It's what happens when experience, pattern recognition, judgment, synthesis, and context awareness combines into something really powerful. It's the difference between knowing things and knowing what to do with things. One of the folks on the Knowledge Hive platform, let's call him Marcus, used to be a product leader at a pretty large technology company. After he left, he added his profile and started advising startups. One day, a founder hired him to review a pitch deck. Basically, can you give me feedback? Marcus engaged for a 4-hour review. And then the founder later told him, your review saved me from building the wrong product. The startup, then he was then able to raise $8 million. Marcus charged him $3,000 for that engagement. Not for time, not for judgment, for pattern recognition, for knowing what failure looks like before it happens. That is knowledge capital. Most professionals dramatically undervalue what they bring. And why is that? Well, because we're taught to price out in hours, output, tasks, not in billing for foresight, for risk prevention, for strategic clarity, for speed of decision making. You don't pay for a fire extinguisher for the time it spends on the wall. You pay for the disaster that it actually prevents. Your knowledge works the same way, but you have to see it that way first. Here's a really critical shift. Employees ask, how valuable am I to my company? Fractional executive freelancers ask, how valuable is what I know to everyone else? One is constrained by hierarchy. The other is constrained only by reach. When you see yourself as an asset, not a role, everything changes. You stop asking, what job should I apply for? And you start asking, what problems am I uniquely built to solve? That question is worth more than any resume. I once coached a woman who'd spent 15 years in HR. She kept introducing herself as, I'm just an HR person. But when we broke down what she actually did, it was this. She stabilized chaotic organizations. She redesigned dysfunctional teams. She prevented leadership implosions, and she built trust after toxic cultures. That's not HR, that's organizational triage. That's strategic stabilization. Once she reframed her identity, she stopped applying for jobs and she started being involved in boardrooms as a fractional executive. Same person, just different framing of her expertise, different framing of her value. Now let's talk about optimization. Most people optimize for busyness. More meetings, more clients, more deliverables, more output. But busy is not valuable. Impact is. And impact doesn't scale with volume. It scales with positioning, signal clarity, strategic visibility, reputation, and leverage. You can work 80 hours a week and still be replaceable. Or you can work 10 hours a week and be indispensable. The difference is how clearly the market understands what you do. Personal branding has been ruined by influencers, so let me redefine it. Your personal brand is not your logo, your color palette, or your headshot, although all that's important. What it is it's a mental shortcut people use when they think of you. If someone says your name, what do they associate it with? Do they associate it with chaos or clarity or turnarounds or growth or stability or innovation? That association is your brand. And whether you shape it or not, it exists. What do they do this for me? Google yourself. That's what's going to pop up and show you what your brand looks like today. I once worked with a man that was just brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant, but no one knew. He solved massive problems really quietly. He never posted on social media. He never did speaking engagements. He didn't share what he did with others. And then, unfortunately, whenever layoffs came, he was cut. Not because he wasn't valuable, but because nobody knew that he was valuable. So visibility is not about ego. It's just, quite frankly, it's survival. So here's the most important reframe of this particular episode. Your knowledge is your product. Your mental models, your frameworks, your interpretations, your predictions, your clarity. That is what clients pay for. That's what founders crave. That's what executives outsource, not labor. They want judgment. Now, here's where many people get stuck. They believe their work should speak for itself, but the market is loud. There's so much competition. And your silence doesn't signal, hey, I'm valuable. It signals that you're basically absent. I once met a man who had quietly saved 3 companies from collapse. I'm not exaggerating. He was, again, brilliant. And he had stepped into chaos. He'd stabilized the operations. He rebuilt leadership teams ground up, and he exited without any drama. And when I asked him how he found the clients, he said, they usually found me word of mouth. But when the word of mouth dried up, which it inevitably does, so did his income. Not because he lost his skill, but because he didn't have a signal out there that said, hey, I'm great, hire me. This is what I've done, right? Brilliance without visibility is really pretty fragile. Eventually those word of mouths dry up because people get busy. They don't think. Personal branding is not self-promotion. It's making your knowledge legible, findable, searchable. Your brand should answer 3 questions instantly. What do you see that other people just miss? What problems do you solve? What changes after you enter the room? If people describe you by your job title, you're underpositioned. I worked with a fractional CFO who described herself as, I help with finances. I am finance. So that's pretty invisible. We talked a little bit, we reframed her work description, and she didn't help with finances. She prevented cash flow crises. She designed capital strategies. She helped founders sleep at night. Same skills, different framing. And within 90 days, she was actually able to bump her rates up on the platform that she was on. Nothing about her changed, only how she described her value. And skills are becoming commoditized. AI is accelerating, tools are abundant, and the only thing that cannot be copied is what you know, your knowledge, your lived experience, your pattern library, your instincts. 2 people can know the same information and reach totally different conclusions. That difference is value. You don't need to be famous. You need to be findable. You need your thinking to exist somewhere publicly. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be super polished. It has to be consistent. Clients don't really want to look at your resume. They want to look at your confidence in what you're doing, what you know. They want to see how you think before they trust you. And honestly, this is a great place for a shameless plug of Knowledge Hive. Knowledge Hive is an on-demand marketplace platform for top-tier professionals, like we're discussing, that are willing to share what they know with others who need their expertise. So there are folks that come in looking for help and they're called a seeker. And if you're one of these wonderful people that we're talking about today, you would be a Hiver on our platform. So we hope you'll sign up. It's free. Sign up, put your profile out there. But anyway, speaking of platforms, let's talk about other platforms and how they can help. So there's LinkedIn, there's podcasts, there's newsletters, there's communities, there's YouTube, there's X, there's Snapchat. I mean, there's a million, right? These are not content platforms. They're knowledge distribution systems. You're not trying to go viral. You're teaching the market how to recognize you. That means sharing mental models, sharing your framework, sharing mistakes sometimes. I mean, makes you more human. Sharing insights, lessons learned, sharing predictions. You're building familiarity with your thought process, and trust grows from familiarity. Maybe you're a COO and you know what actually breaks companies, not the glamorous stuff, the quiet stuff. Decision bottlenecks, role confusion, incentive misalignment, invisible burnout. Using platforms like the ones we just discussed, get your insight out there to others and start hopefully piling up interest and money. We're all somewhat coin operated, right? Here's how high value clients actually choose who they're going to work with. They utilize platforms to search for someone that is done the thing, has knowledge about the thing, has education around the thing, or influence on the thing that is the particular problem that they need help solving. They want confidence and clarity. They want to find somebody that's calm and has foresight. They're not buying solutions or widgets. They're buying something much more important. They're buying reduction of uncertainty. When you publish your thinking, you reduce uncertainty before the conversation even happens. That's knowledge capital at work. Every time you share your thinking, you're teaching the market what you notice, what you value, what you solve, how you decide. You're not bragging, you're educating. And you're increasing your value. Like, few posting tips. You don't need to be loud. You don't need to be flashy. You do not need to be everywhere on every platform. Yes, you can let go of that MySpace account now. Sorry, I actually still have one out there somewhere. You need to have a consistent and coherent message. Clear beats loud. Consistent beats viral. Specific beats broad. Your personal brand is not what you say, it's what people expect from you. If someone hires you, what do they believe will happen? Will you bring less chaos, more clarity, better decisions, faster execution? That expectation is your promise. Also, knowledge capital is not only what you know, it's showing that you're constantly evolving. Don't get stale. Information is everywhere. Google is free. Google stuff. Learn about it. AI is everywhere. It can help you. Research. Courses are abundant, and most people consume information, and courses are abundant. So, most people consume information and they scroll and they skim and they collect, but very few people actually pause and cultivate knowledge. Cultivation means that you organize what you learn. You integrate into the frameworks of what you already know, and you test it in real situations. You refine it, and then in the end, you teach it. There's some amazing books out there. There's all different sorts of resources. So, learn. You never, ever know everything. If you stop learning, honestly, you stop earning. And if you stop questioning, you stop growing. High-value thinkers are not the ones with the most answers. They're the ones with the best questions. A consultant I work with built more than anyone else in his niche, not because he was the smartest, but because he was the most curious. He constantly asked, what's changing? What's breaking? What no longer works? And then he told people. And that made him really valuable. Also, if you only learn inside your current industry, your thinking becomes really narrow. High-valued fractional executives cross-pollinate. They study psychology, systems, history, economics, technology, behavior, culture. They connect dots others don't see. Now, getting real, staying ahead doesn't mean consuming everything. You don't need to be smart about every single thing on the planet, right? So be selective. Ask yourself, well, what's going to matter in 2 years? What's being ignored right now? What is emerging quietly? Your value increases when you notice what others miss. Learning is not self-improvement. It's asset appreciation. Every new lens you add increases your value. Every new framework you expand and perfect increases your leverage. You're not becoming smarter. You're becoming harder to replace. Finally, on this topic, when you share what you're learning on social media platforms or professional booking platforms like Hive, clarify your thinking, attract aligned people, signal that you have momentum, and you really start building trust. So now let's talk about money, because knowledge capital that isn't monetized is just a hobby, right? So monetization done wrong can destroy your leverage as well. If your knowledge is valuable, it deserves to be valued. And if you undervalue it, the market will happily agree with you and not pay you what you're worth. Most people with deep expertise are not underpaid because they aren't useful. They're underpaid because they package themselves incorrectly. Change the narrative from, I am billing you for my time, to, I am billing you for my insight, or I am billing you for my foresight, or I am billing you for my expertise in pattern recognition. I once coached a strategist who charged $400 an hour. That sounds great until you realize she was making less than a junior consultant at any of the big consulting firms. Her clients thought of her as a resource, not a force multiplier. If you've watched any of my other podcasts, you will see that I constantly emphasize that you need to bill for the outcome of the work that you provide. People don't value paying for slides or impromptu meetings or reports or deliverables or any of those buzzwords. What they're really willing to pay for, though, is reduced uncertainty, faster decisions, fewer mistakes, strategic clarity, confidence under pressure. And that's what you're selling. High leverage thinkers price based on outcomes and risk reduction and opportunity creation, strategic inflection points. Ask, what changes because of me? And many people are afraid to charge what they're worth. They're worried, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm not that special? What if they say no? But pricing is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. If someone wants commodity work by the hour, wants some reports, you're not for them, right? If somebody wants transformation, you are. You don't need more clients. You need better clients that are a good fit. You want clients who trust your judgment, value your thinking, want your perspective, and respect your time. They collaborate. And honestly, you're not for everyone, and that's okay. Being broadly appealing makes you generic. Being specific makes you valuable. Your clarity will repel some people, make them keep looking for a better fit. And again, that's okay. Just remember that your clients passed up several other people before they landed firmly on you and your expertise. Last bit of reframing for you. Remember, you're not a job title. You're not a department. You're not a function. You're not a node of intelligence. You carry judgment. You carry context. You have perspective. That's your asset. Protect it, grow it, signal it, deploy it strategically. Stop asking, what job should I get? Start asking, what problems am I able to solve? And, stop asking, how do I make myself look more impressive? And start asking, how do I become more useful? Stop asking, how do I sell myself? And start asking, how do I share what I know? Your knowledge is a product. And when you internalize that, you stop chasing opportunities. You start attracting them. You stop competing on price and you start competing on insight. You stop being replaceable and you become essential. This is not about your ego. This is about ownership of your knowledge, ownership of your mind, your experience, your thinking, your evolution. That is knowledge capital, your knowledge as a service. And it is the most valuable thing that you own. To close out, let me remind you, if you're a business owner who is looking for someone that has this type of expertise, we have them on knowledgehive.co. Some of the most amazing people have loaded their profiles and they bring this experience and confidence to the workplace. If you are one of these amazing people, we would love to have you on knowledgehive.co. Again, it's free. Please join us. If you love this episode, share it with someone who's reimagining their next chapter, and keep questioning, keep exploring, keep building the future on your terms. Again, I'm Lisa Sims. Put your thoughts and comments on the topic below. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or at knowledgehive.co. New episodes drop every week, so please don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, all the drill. And until next time, we are Knowledge Hive and we are Knowledge as a Service.